In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My name is Jim Sues. I'm with ICNA, New Jersey. My background is that I was born into a Christian family, and then about 25 years ago, I accepted Islam, and I've been practicing ever since by the will of Allah. And a number of people have asked me what we'll call my conversion story. How did it happen? And I'm happily telling anyone who wants to know. I used to work for a Fortune 500 company, and I had it was a desk job. I had an office, and worked here in New Jersey in Piscataway. And I used to sometimes when work was kind of slow, go out at lunchtime and go to the local driving range and hit golf balls. Just practice my swing, see how hard I could hit it. You can imagine. And one time I went out and I hit some golf balls, and on my way back, I just popped into the pro shop. For those of you who don't know, the pro shop is typically the little shop at a driving range or a golf course where they sell the equipment. They sell golf clubs and tees and gloves and balls and all these things. So I just stopped in the pro shop to kind of browse around, and I found a few little things, maybe a glove and some tees. But they had this big bin there that was full of golf balls, and it was kind of like a big, wooden barrel that was just full of golf balls, and they were selling them by the dozen at a very good price. So I thought, well, let me get some of these. So they had paper bag there, and you'd fill the bag or put whatever you want. So the price was so good, I grabbed two dozen balls, and I threw them in this paper bag, and I went to go check out. And I put them on the counter, and the guy at the counter is, he's tallying up the gloves and whatever else I bought, and he just punched the bag and says, "So you got a dozen balls?" And I said, "No, 2 dozen." And he looked at me like, "Hey, okay, you didn't have to tell me that." So I got charged for 2 dozen balls, and I'm walking out to the car, and I'm thinking, geez, I could have got those balls for the price of 1 dozen. I didn't have to tell him that. And I thought, maybe I should kind of be more alert and look for opportunities like that, Am I being a sucker by telling him, by being so honest? But then there was another part of me that was telling me, I really feel more comfortable being that honest. And that was my sort of automatic response. So I had this kind of conversation going on in my head. If you might imagine, two entities on each shoulder kind of whispering in my ears. And I was thinking about this. So I drove back to the office and just sat down behind my desk. And then a coworker just appeared in my doorway. Happened to be an Egyptian, a Muslim. And frankly, I didn't even know that he was a Muslim. I think I assumed that he was not Christian. But he had the office next to me. And he just right then popped into my doorway and said, "Say, what's up?" So I just told him the story about what had happened at this golf course, at this pro shop. And I said, "What do you think? What would you do?" He goes, "I don't have to think about it. It's not even a question for me. Tell him you got 2 dozen balls. My religion tells me to do that. Not even a second thought." I was like, "Oh, that's very interesting. So what is your religion?" And he said, "Islam." I said, "Oh, you're a Muslim?" He goes, "Yeah." So I said, "Well, tell me more about Islam." So that's how the conversation started. So that exchange started a discussion between the two of us that lasted for several months. We talked about Christianity and we talked about Islam. I learned a whole lot about the similarities between Christianity and Islam. I had no idea that, for instance, Jesus is referenced in the Quran many times. There is a whole chapter or a surah in the Quran that's called Maryam or Mary. It's about the Virgin Mary, and it says that she was the most pious woman on earth. This is all news to me. I didn't think there was any connection at all between Islam and Christianity at that time. So we're having sort of a discussion about the two faiths, and it almost got into a debate. I soon realized that this Egyptian friend, coworker, knew more about Christianity than I did. He had read more Bible than I had. So in the interest of this discussion, and it just piqued my interest, in many ways, I went back and decided to read the Bible, which is a lengthy book. If you look at the Old Testament and the New Testament, I just started from page 1 and read it through. And it was very interesting because it was almost like, a little book club or study circle, because I would read some and then I would come into the office. And we still, of course, were doing our duties as employees at this company. But we would have these discussions on a fairly regular basis about what I had read in the Bible, and for a lot of the time it was about the Old Testament. And I learned a lot. I mean, I learned about a lot, of course, by reading it, and then I learned a lot about the Muslim perspective on the various books and lines and stories in the Old Testament and the New Testament. And at the end of the day, I did come to the conclusion that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is the messenger of God, and there is only one God. So by definition, that made me a Muslim. And from that point, I did make it formal, and I took my shahada, with witnesses and all that, and began to practice Islam. And practicing Islam basically means adhering to the 5 pillars, which are prayer, charity, the Hajj, or the pilgrimage. I made the Hajj in the year 2000, and the declaration that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. So a big part of my journey towards Islam was through reading the Bible and finding out, what is there, and getting a better understanding. A lot of the stories in the Bible are also in the Quran. In some cases, the telling is a bit different. In some cases, the telling is virtually identical. I think there are a good number of let's say, Hebrew prophets that are talked about in the Quran, and some of their stories are told there. And there are several references to the Torah and the Gospel. So that's basically how I got to this place. Thank you.